Hey guys, I want to welcome you to another edition of Halftime Chat. And as I say, always I've got a very special guest, Mr. TL Cross, formerly of the R&B group Ladae. He's been a songwriter and producer in his own right, and it's going to be really interesting to see to talk to him, talk about his background and his career. Um, I met up with TL when he was in London performing, and just before Christmas, and yeah, we got to set this interview up. So look forward to inviting him in and talking
Yes, yes, yes. How you doing, my brother? I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
to. What an impressive background there.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
definitely good to catch up with you since as I did the intro, I was just saying that we met up in London, so it's good to catch up with you after that. How was the show?
Oh my gosh, man. It was amazing. Shout out to Strictly Sophisticated. Shout out to Strictly Sophisticated, with my guy Courtney and just his whole team, everybody involved. It was amazing. I love London. The first time we went to London I was in high school, we were performing,
Wow.
and this was last year, 2023 was my first time back. My
Wow.
second show last year, but my third time in London, and I love London.
No, definitely. Well, we're gonna have to try and see how we can get you back some more times and stuff. But yeah, but just as we start off with it, it's got an international audience and everyone would like to know where you were sort of born and raised, so we can sort of get a sense of where you're from.
Yes, man, I am a native New Yorker. All right. I
Oh,
am a native New Yorker. Shout out to Rochester, New York. I was raised in Queens, I've been in Queens practically my whole life, Queens, New York. Those of you who don't know Queens, if you've seen Coming to America, then you know a little something about Queens right there.
okay.
Or Run
Yes,
DMC.
yes,
LL
yes.
Cool. Yeah,
LOL
people.
Cool seems to be yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think Bryce Wilson from Groove Theory is from Queens.
Absolutely. Bryce is absolutely from Queens. Shout out to Tribe Called Quest. I have their album right there. Nicki Minaj. I mean, just so many people from there. A lot of history, man.
Wow. Oh, what was it like for you growing up as a kid in Queens? Because I think we know Queens from, say, Come to America, with hip hop talking about it from their perspective. But for yourself, how, what was it like for you growing up as a kid?
Oh man, growing up as a kid in Queens I wouldn't trade it for the world because first historically out of Queens, if you go way back, you're talking about jazz musicians who lived there. So we're talking about Count Basie, we're talking about Lena Horne, we're talking about Billie Holiday, we're talking about Ella Fitzgerald, John Coltrane, and then it goes into another era of Queens, like let's say Lenny White, Bernard Wright, you know, let's say Marcus Miller, maybe the Fatback Band, you know what I'm saying? So many different people, and then in between that little clip, you had like Shep and the Limelights, the doo-wop era, Daddy's Home, and stuff like that. So coming up in Queens, it was a rich history, not only with hip hop, but it was a rich history with gospel, a rich history with R&B, doo-wop, jazz, uh, and hip hop. And because these styles of music are not just sounds, they're cultures. So I
Mm.
was in the culture where all of that stuff was not only born, but like the incubator of some of those things. And then I'm the son of a musician, a church musician. My father's a minister of music, and my mom's an educator. So my experience in Queens was like go out on the block parties, hip hop, DJs, hip hop, culture.
Yeah.
But then inside my house, my parents are from New Orleans, Louisiana. I had a little bit of that Southern charm, in cuisine, in the house, you know what I'm saying? But then it was so diverse as far as the black community was concerned until we got a little bit of every type of musical culture in Queens. It just so happened that a lot of hip hop came out of Queens during that period, but I mean, a lot of different styles of music and genre culturally. I was right smack dab in the middle of that.
So what was your main influence? Because I said if hip hop was prominent, did you think about being an MC, or how did even singing become part of your upbringing?
Everybody in my neighborhood was either MC, hip hop dancer, hip hop DJ, something, spray paint in my hood. So yeah, I mean, I went through a period of time where I was on the mic, MCing. But here's my dichotomy. In the hood, I'm in the Queens, you're talking Hollis, Queens, St. Albans, Queens Village, all of these, we talking. So when we talk about these areas, we talk about Salt and Pepper, Queens Village in Jamaica. We talking about Run DMC, Tribe and them. We're talking about all of these different types of hip hop. And yeah, I was a part of that. Um, as a young guy, just, writing little rhymes in my notebook and doing little demos and stuff on, with the DJs. But because my father's a musician, he's a songwriter, he's a singer, he's a musician, he's a theologian, he's an author, he's a lecturer. I was
Mhm.
singing in church as
Okay.
well in Brooklyn, you know? So we were doing that. And then I was coming back to the neighborhood. So I was always mixing the various cultural types of expression through music because I was around it all.
Was your upbringing, so your musical upbringing was mainly in church?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, 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 yes. That's the foundation. The foundation. I was right there in that choir loft, singing in that tenor section and getting those solos. And when my father was the minister of music at the church,
Yeah, okay.
but, and some of the songs that I sang, he wrote, because he was
Oh,
also, my dad's also a songwriter and an arranger and a composer. And he's written songs that are sung in churches all around America, right now, and I was a part of something really special. I didn't realize how special it was, but I was singing. I was in church. I was singing. I was playing. I was doing some playing as well.
just out of curiosity, did you have an option, a choice? I mean, is this something you wanted to do or something you had to do?
The church part or the singing in church part?
The singing in church, yeah, yeah, the singing part of it, yeah.
Um, you know what? So I didn't remember this. I thought the way I recalled it, because I was singing as early as 5,
Mhm.
in church. And I recalled it. I thought that I was told to do it, but my brother, who is now a pastor, in a church, St. Albans Congregational Church here in Queens, um, he's my big brother. He
Okay.
reminded me that my father asked us, "Do you want to sing?" He said no. I said yes. Now he was just as good as a singer as me, but I guess he reminded me that I was asked, and I said that I wanted to do it. So I guess I made a choice. It was just an early life choice, but,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
made a choice. Yeah,
But how was it for you? Did you enjoy doing it? Because as I said, I've interviewed others who have grown up in a church and it was a chore at
yeah,
first and they grew to love it. But for
yeah.
yourself, was it, how did, was it for you?
It wasn't a chore. It wasn't a
Okay.
chore because I loved I loved music. My earliest memories, period, are of music. I remember music more than I remember people sometimes, like my earlier life. Do
Mm,
you remember Mr. So and so, so and so? And I say no. But if you talk about a song that was out during that time, I'll remember
mm,
the song though. You know what I'm saying? So I was
yeah.
so into music until having the opportunity to sing. Now, I'll tell you this. I was nervous. I used to get really, really nervous. I used to feel like, man, I'm gonna have a heart attack right here. They're gonna take me out on the stretcher. You know what I'm saying? Like, out of the sanctuary as I'm singing this song. That's how nervous I would get. So the only part about it that was scary was the nerves before going on. I wanted to do it though. I did want to do it. So it was about me overcoming it. I don't think it was a chore because, like I said, my father was a minister of music, and I admired him. I mean, I just watch him sing and play and do all those things. That was admirable to me. So for me to get up there and do it was big for me. You know.
Then as a kid playing and singing, but outside there's all this stuff happening with hip hop and it's taking off. What's a 15-year-old TL deciding to do?
Say it again.
So while you're singing and developing your craft as in singing, but then hip hop is taking off, what are you thinking about? Do you want to then, see a career in that, or was your passion to your job to be work in a church, or what was it? What was the idea?
That's a great question, man. Early on, I did want to be a church musician because that's what I saw. That's what I saw my father doing.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that I was moving in that direction. Um, but here's the interesting thing. I'm a minister of music at a church today. That's what I'm literally doing what my father did. I do that today. So
Okay.
apparently I was moving in that direction. I didn't realize it because it's kind of like a calling, but no, I didn't look at music as a career at all. Growing up, I looked at it as a hip hop was always just like a cultural expression, something that was in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Uh, I just looked at it as something that people just do. Singing is something that we enjoy and we just do. I wasn't calculated in the beginning. I was not calculated. I was just singing because I guess I could. I was singing because I could. I was rapping because I felt like I could. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I was, doing those things. So I didn't get serious about that until right around eighth grade. Eighth grade is when I got into that group, Ladae. Eighth grade. That's when I decided, well, this is a thing. There are groups out here. Like there are groups. This is literally what they do in their career. Maybe we could do that. We admired a lot of those groups. So we got together and we started, but I was in the eighth grade. That was when it clicked with me, like to do it.
Okay. So to give us some context around what year that was, what year was what were you in the eighth grade?
My brother, you are making me work right now.
So we're trying to see who was out musically. So,
I was in it was in the 90s. So I put it to you this way. When I was in the eighth grade, the groups that we looked up to
yeah.
was Jodeci and
Okay.
Boys.
So are we talking about their first albums in 91? So this is
Uh,
Forever My Lady and Motown
well,
Fever.
well, when they came out with that album, I was a little younger. I wasn't in Ladae yet when they came out with their first album. We weren't, that hadn't started yet when the album came out. By the time they got to their second album,
So the
we
Diary
were,
of a Mad Band and two albums. That was about 93, 93.
okay, is that what it was? Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, we,
93,
we,
94. Yeah.
okay, so 94, that sound
Yeah.
94-ish, son. But where by the time that album came along, we were Ladae. Like we were Ladae. We were up and we had a record deal by the time that no, we by that second album was out. Yeah, I think we had a record deal by the
Okay.
time their second albums were out. Yeah.
So then how did you then, what happened in high school then? I guess eighth grade, people would want to know, okay, you saying the four of you guys were in the same school?
No. So we all went to the same church. That
Oh,
we met that's what I'm saying. The foundation was literally the church. Um, my brother, when Ladae first started, my brother was in it. My big brother was in it. Shout out to
okay.
Eli the third, Trey. And there was a talent show in Brooklyn. And so myself, my brother, and my man Darren, who's one of my greatest friends to this day, um, also lived in Queens. My brother was in a talent show. He was with a group. He wasn't taking it seriously. He was just, they were in a talent, was just singing in a talent show.
Yeah.
And me, Darren, and Trey, we used to sing at Darren's house. We just used to get together and just sing. We weren't serious. I'm in the eighth grade, but they're like 18. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Yeah. So I was the youngest by far, so when I was the tag along with my brother.
oh,
So we'd
okay.
sing at a friend's house, harmonize, and then ultimately one day we went to a rehearsal, bro. We went to a rehearsal, and my brother was singing with this group, and they were trying to do Stay by Jodeci, and the group couldn't get the harmony. And so Darren, myself, and my brother, we said, yo, let's show them how the harmony goes. we do it in the car all the time and at the house. So we did this. We did Stay as like a three-part harmony. The Forget About Yesterday because I Want You So Bad. We did that part. And one of the guys from that group, I don't remember the name of the group, but one of the guys from the group said, "Oh, that doesn't sound good." Yo, and so Darren got really mad. He got offended. So we got back in the car and said, "You know what?" He said, "Yo, Trey, my brother, you should leave that group. We should get in this talent show and beat those guys." And so they said, all right, cool. And it was the three of us. So we said, but we doing Jodeci. So we need a fourth guy that can be in it. There was a guy from our church who was actually a DJ, LaQuintus Saxton. And we said, you want to be in the group? And he said, yeah. They reluctantly had me in the group, bro, because I was so much younger. They were like, we're gonna be cute because he's a kid. But ultimately, we got up in there, and me and my brother was like the JoJo and KC of the situation. You know what
Oh,
I
okay, the
mean?
two singers.
And for that talent show, and
Yeah.
we we won, and I still have that trophy. And that was when something clicked. This could be something.
I mean, and up to then, what were you thinking about doing before that opportunity?
Before that, I don't know that I was serious about anything in particular outside of, the music of the church, maybe
Okay.
because see my idols, I'll say our idols. When I say my idols, when I say our idols, I'm talking about all of us, all of
Yeah.
our other groups, every group you can have sit down right here
Yeah.
from the 90s. I'm not necessarily the 80s, but from the 90s. If you have a group member sit right here, they will tell you about Commissioned.
Yeah.
That's what we were all about. Commissioned, Take Six, the Winans, all of those male groups that came out of gospel and those male singers that came out of gospel, we all wanted to be like them. Even when we all
Mm.
got record deals, we sang all their ad libs in all their harmonies. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had Claude McKnight from Take Six on,
Oh,
and just find out that how is it that you guys, everyone seems to just say that they saw Take Six as like, they wanted to be like you guys, and for them it was like they didn't really, to them was the singing was just something they just enjoyed doing. But for
yeah.
yourself, was that? Yeah, I mean, and I've always heard about commissioned and how they changed our gospel for they made gospel cool.
Yes, they did. Listen. They are between Take Six. I'll say between Commission One, Take Six, in the Winans, because the Winans is like the OGs to Commission. Commission was inspired and influenced by the Winans. And they had a direct connection with Detroit. And then with the women, it was the Clark sisters, who were
Okay.
also out of Detroit. They were all from Detroit, and they were doing something different. But that cluster right there, they're really responsible in a lot of ways for modern R&B groups, all right, and solo artists. A lot of
Mm.
solo artists will sit here and I'm pretty sure uh I can name them, that would sit here and tell you, oh, we were listening to Commission. I was listening to Commission. If you put all the male groups from the 90s in one room
Yeah.
and one of them just started singing a Commission song, we will all know all that we will literally know all
Yeah.
the arrangements, where the leads go, I mean, we that was we studied it.
What about when the Winans went to Teddy and did It's Time and Don't Stay and Don't Leave Me and stuff? Did how as coming from the church, did they say, "Oh, this is a little too
No,
worldly," or what was?
not mine, not my church. Like the church that I was at was St. Paul Community Baptist Church in East New York, Brooklyn. And no, they didn't say that. My father was so progressive as the minister of music as the church, at the
Yeah.
church. He was so progressive until in 1983, him and a woman by the name of, I love her dearly, Kathy Hall, a preacher out of Philadelphia. They wrote a song called the Rap Song, which they taught children the books of the Bible in rap form. Now you got to think about
Wow.
that. That's 1983. This is really before rap took off and went where it ultimately ended up going. So
Yeah.
to think that we were doing that, my father created that, they created that in the church environment. And it
Mm.
was a hit. People loved it in that environment. So much so that Robert Duvall, the actor, he did a movie
Yeah.
called The Apostle. And they used that song, the children rap song in the movie while they were building a church. That's my father. My father and Kathy Hall wrote that. Just to let you know how progressive they were around. My father's favorite singers was always Donny Hathaway and Stevie Wonder, musician wise. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
that I grew up with gospel, but I grew up with my father's record collection, which was
Okay.
everybody. Isley Brothers, Otis Redding, Sam Cooke. The list went on and on. So nah, man, we were from an environment where they embraced the wine is getting with Teddy Riley because Teddy Riley sound like gospel. He sound like gospel.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Teddy will probably tell you he was inspired and influenced by the Winans and some of that Detroit gospel progressive sound. So them getting together made nothing but perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, it was a global hit. I think I was in Nigeria when It's Time came out, and that was massive around the world. And I'd actually hadn't heard of the Winans until that. Uh,
We sing that. We sing that song in church.
I,
It's time to make a change. We sing that song in church.
yeah,
The the part where Carvin is the high voice guy,
yeah.
uh, that was me because my voice hadn't changed. I was a kid.
Wow. Okay, so you guys was
I
still baby singing
I
it in
sung
church, yeah.
that's the part they gave me. Everything else was too low.
Wow. So when Ladae formed, then did you think, okay, we're going to be a gospel group like commissioned, or what was the, or did you think, okay, you know what, even though Jodeci came from the church, we're gonna go. What was the idea?
You know what? I think when we first started, it was possible that we were gonna do gospel. I remember um we were fans of like Jodeci and Mary J. Blige and Heavy D and Guy, so we loved Uptown Records. This is the first time I've ever said it anywhere. We created we had a microphone and that was plugged directly into like some type of a radio something and we all got around the microphone and sang a gospel song and we sent it to Uptown Records. Never heard back, but that was a gospel song we sung, and we were open. I think we were open to being a gospel group, but being that they were like 18, 19ish, they were smack dab in the middle of chasing girls, man. So notice he came out and they were like Boys and Men. They came out and they were like boys. They were like a commissioned and like a Take Six in a Winans, but they were talking about you and I will never fall apart. I knew, right? Sorry I left you crying. Like it was like this might work. this work. This might work.
Wow. So, I mean, when you guys just came together, now, how did you settle on the four that finally made up Ladae and officially even come up with the name?
Shout out to all the tenors at the church. Because I'm gonna tell you how it really happened, man. I'm gonna tell you how it really went down. There was a couple of groups that were trying to do their thing in my church, and Darren and my brother, they were all involved in it. I was never in that because I was in a different kind of generation. Uh,
Yeah.
so there was a couple of groups, shout out to my guy, Reverend Melvin Anderson, and Spry, and a guy by the name of Taye Samuel. Um, these were some of the guys that they all kind of sang together. And I think at some point when I was hanging with my brother and Darren, and we would harmonize together, I think Darren and my brother would say, Lil Man is good though. Like he's good. You know what I'm saying? Like he's good, And he could do all that. He could do all that stuff they're doing. Like okay. And so it was the three of us in that talent show. It was the talent show
Okay.
went into that said it's going to be us three, and then we want to get one more guy. They said they wanted to ask Quint. They asked him. He said he would do it. And when he said that, we just started rehearsing right in Queens and right in Brownsville, Brooklyn. Those are the two places that we used to rehearse.
And how did you guys do? And you guys was it a sort of a slam win or was it close?
Oh no, no, no. We won bar none, man. Like we won, and it went on. We won. It was like the local talent show, and then they went from there to the citywide one. Then we won that one, and then it went to statewide, and then
Wow.
we won that one, and then it went to nationwide, and we got disqualified. That's how we didn't win. But let me tell you who did win. There was an actor by the name of Mekhi Phifer.
Oh,
Mekhi
oh,
Phifer,
yeah. What was his name?
Mekhi Phifer, he was in the rap category. He's been in the movies like Paid in Full, movies
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Soul.
yeah, yeah.
He was in the rap category. And so, we want a rematch because we think we would have won. We were disqualified because they said whatever song you do at the rehearsal, you must do at the show. And right before the show started, we were backstage and was like, you know what? We got to do this new thing we've been working on. And we did this new thing, and that caused our disqualification.
Did you know that you could get disqualified?
Yes, I think we did know, but I think we kind of felt like, we were being rebels, you know what I'm saying? Like we were being rebels. It was like, we're gonna make them, but I think part of it was that. Part of it was also just probably being young, never doing anything like this before. We tried it, we lost, but not before we realized we got something because the place were going crazy for us. And that gave us all the confidence in the world to actually pursue music for real.
Wow. So did Mikhail, did he win in the rap category?
Mekhi Phifer won. He won.
Oh,
He won the whole thing because what happened was, he used to come in at every level. We were in the same talent shows, but it was categorized, and it was
okay.
he would win for the rap category. We would win for the singing category. And then there was the dance category. And then you get all them together. And then you say, out of these, okay, who wins? And he didn't go up against, so we got disqualified. So a different person got first place for vocal. And he went against that guy.
Okay.
And, and then he won against that guy. He ain't go against us, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Mekhi Phifer. He is actually one of my all-time favorite actors, and an early friend in I'll Come Up. Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about the name? How did the name come about then? Who came up with the name? Lade.
Um, you know what? We lied for so many years. I'm gonna finally tell you how that name came about, man. We lied about that name. Um, they're gonna kill me. You know what though? It's been so long. So
Yeah.
came up with that name in the eighth grade in my little notebook, just writing different things down. And because we were such big fans of Jodeci, see, I came up with the name when it was just the three of us, me,
Uh,
my brother, and Darren. All right. Um, my name, my government, all right,
government name.
my government is LeVar Antoine. That's my first and middle name. Um, that's L.A.
Um,
Was Darren. We took DA from his Darren, and then we put the E on there for my brother Trey, which his name is Eli. That became Ladae. Once Quint got into the group, his name is LaQuentis, Laquentis. And no, I think I spelled that wrong, but it's definitely LA, right?
yeah.
So we put him, he represents the LA, D for Darren, A for my middle name, and then E for my brother. Here's how we started lying. when we got a record deal, and I'm jumping ahead, but when we got halfway through our first album, my brother he left the group and he went into college.
Oh.
We got a guy named Brian Palmer, one of my closest friends to this very day. He came into the group. That's who people know Ladae for. Brian being in the group. Once he came into the group, the name thing no longer worked. So
Okay.
to just tell this lie, man, we used to just say, yeah, we just invented a word. We wanted to we because our sound doesn't have there's no word that describes our sound. So we just created a word and that word will define our sound. And they were like, oh my God, that's brilliant.
That's deep.
That's brilliant. And that's what we did, man. But that's the real story.
Oh, but if you think about Jodeci, even Dalvin said he wasn't in there, so it was only later on when they're like, "Yeah, join in." So,
Yeah. I tell you, Dalvin he used to say, they said, how'd you get the name? He used to say J-O for JoJo, D-E for Dalvin and Devontae. And we were like, I don't know if that works, but okay.
yeah, no. Yeah, yeah.
Again,
Okay, okay.
same thing happened to us. It worked better for them because at least Dalvin had a D in his name.
Yeah,
D,
yeah.
Dalvin and Devontae. So it worked a little bit more, but with us, it couldn't work at all. So we
It could
just
work.
had to
Okay.
just lie, man.
But then, so how did you then get the? How did you guys get discovered where somebody did come? I think it was Ireland that first came to you guys. So how did that whole
Oh,
thing come?
shout out to them, man. So here's what happened. Go back to the church. There was one of the guys who my dad hired was a man by the name of Ashley Davis. Ashley had a little brother named Adrian Davis who had a gospel singing career. But Ashley Davis was one of my father's musicians, and
Mm.
he knew a man named James Maness and JoJo Brim. They were brothers. All right, James Maness and JoJo Brim. Um, they had an affiliation with Uptown Records. All right.
Mm.
They worked at Uptown, and JoJo was in a group called FS Effect. And they had a song called I Want to Be Your Lover, where little known fact, there's a group called S Effect, and they're a rap group. They had a song featuring Christopher Williams called I Want to Be Your Lover. And JoJo and Casey are singing the background vocals. The ad libs are Christopher Williams, and the rap group is called FS Effect.
Wow.
Uh, Hollywood D was one of the lead rappers in that. His name is JoJo Brim. And we met those guys. And they also happen to be family with Albie Shore as well. They all from Mount Vernon. All right.
Okay. Okay.
From Mount Vernon. So we came into the business through some Mount Vernon cats. So I always have love for Mount Vernon to this very day. And they happen to hear our songs because we were writing the songs ourselves. We were writing them, and I
Wow.
was, and Quint was doing some production as well. And they heard us, and they wanted to shop us. They took us to a label at the time called Polydor
Yeah, yeah,
Records.
Polydor, yeah.
Polydor had an A&R by the name of Leotis Clyburn, who is my manager right now. Okay.
Wow.
Leotis Clyburn. I was in the 8th grade when I met Leotis, and he was the A&R. We got signed to Polydor, which was a part of Polygram. In
Mm.
the middle of that album, Polydor and Island either merged or
Yeah.
Island bought Polydor out, or something happened with that, and so we ended up on Island. That's the connect.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of mergers and stuff and happening in that time. So if this so, but this, I guess slowly going back, what was your dad saying when he was like, you guys actually trying to pursue a record deal and stuff?
Yo, man, shout out to my dad. My father practically was like our manager
Oh, so he
because
was fine with it.
oh man,
Okay.
like listen, my father, as I said, my father's favorite singers is Donny Hathaway and Stevie Wonder. My father loves Luther Vandross. My dad, we always grew up on. See, my father looked at it like this. He would put it like this. He would say, "I don't have a problem with you singing secular music." He said because oftentimes a person will turn to their woman and say, I love you. And everybody would say, oh, that's beautiful. But the minute they put a melody with it, somebody has a problem with it. You know what I'm saying? Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it. It's just you professing feelings through music. And
Mm.
so become an R&B singer, that's who you are. I'm sorry, when you become an R&B singer, that's what you do. A
Yeah.
man of God, that's who you are. So you don't
Mm.
have to leave who you are to do what you do. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so my father, I was a minor. So my father was like our manager. Like he literally, wherever we went, he went. He had to sign off on any and everything I did because
Okay.
Ladae kind of spanned eighth grade to 12th grade for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And having your dad there, how much did he know of the actual business elements of the publishing and recording rights?
By the time we did this, my father had an album out introducing Eli Wilson as a gospel recording artist. So my father recorded on his own record label. He had a publishing company.
Wow.
Um, Dealt with all of that. So my dad had my father had a home studio in the 80s. That wasn't
Wow.
common you know what I'm
No.
saying?
Yeah.
That's the environment I came from. I came from an environment where my father, everything that I've done in my life, he's done it first.
Wow.
So he was very helpful to us.
And I asked that because when I asked Dalvin, because their parents still record gospel music now, he said the dad could tell him everything about the studio, but when it came to the business and publishing, they had no idea.
Yeah,
And so that's why I was wondering, like Jodeci left Uptown because they realized they were so popular, but they had no money. But
yeah.
yourself, you said you knew earlier.
Well, let me now dig a little bit deeper into that. So I understood what publishing was. What my father wasn't exposed to, and what we weren't exposed to, was the type of cunning person you will run into in the music industry. This has nothing to do with Leotis Clyburn. Leotis Clyburn was the greatest person we came across in when it came to record companies. But later on, just various different things, the ins and outs of certain things. No, we didn't know about that. And you watch TV and you see movies and you see shady characters in the music. You know what I'm saying? Fast talking industry
Yeah, yeah,
executive. And
yeah.
we knew about that. Was that real? Who knows? We didn't go into it trusting everybody, but you look at a contract, man. I mean, the fine, the all these little points in the jargon, in the legalese, and some of the
Wow.
stuff that it's a lot. And then you take people in situations where it's like, man, I just want to sing. I just want to get out there and do my thing. And then they say, well, right here it says anywhere in the universe, blah, blah, blah. So you say, well, who cares? And they're like, well, that means leave the planet and they still own. Yes. We're like, listen, we don't plan on leaving the planet anytime soon. Let's just get the studio and rock out. And that was those are some of the things that happened with a lot of us. We didn't understand, many of us, just how deep and how shrewd this language was. That we didn't know. You know what I'm saying? And in some
Wow.
instances, it explained to us, and we still are like, yeah, yeah, I get it. But listen, if it was good enough for Jodeci, it's good enough for us.
You know what? I told you I interviewed Clyde McKnight. They got signed to Warner Brothers Country. So they were performing. The head of country music saw them and said, I want to sign you guys. He didn't, he was doing country, took them to Nashville, gave them one of the Nashville contracts, which was, yeah, you pretty much, you get all the good stuff and just let them do their stuff. Their first album blew up, and everyone from Warner Bros. New York says, "Hey, what's going on? Grammys and everything." So, and then so it was almost as if, so you mean to say that they gave you a country music contract, which meant you get pretty much everything. And
Yeah.
that's why they were so successful compared to if they had signed in New York and they would have been, yeah.
Uh, and there is, and let me be clear about that. There is a racial component to that. That when you because some of the same uh agencies, they would represent some of the R&B artists and some of the hip hop artists, and then some of the country artists. And they would say that country music contracts look different.
Yeah.
Same industry, it looks different. But in the end, we were getting the short end of the stick a lot. So if
Mm.
you go into Nashville and you're getting a contract like you giving Nashville country singers, that's ideal.
Yeah,
Like
but
that's
that's
what
yeah.
you want. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's ideal.
Yeah. And so as I said, that was, that's why they were able to get their publishing sorted and everything. And they didn't expect much. It was just a vanity product. The head of country just liked what he saw, he got touched by it, and said, let me just put you guys out.
Yeah. I mean, maybe God was moving through the people who gave them those contracts because, like, I mean, and that's the thing that's interesting, man, because, you know, I've worked with, one of my plaques here. I don't know if you could, one of my plaques is
Yeah.
Yolanda. I've worked with Yolanda Adams. Yolanda Adams is a hero of mine. I mean, she's so amazing.
Mm.
Worked with her, Jimmy and Terry, Jam and Lewis. We'll get to that, I guess, later.
Yeah.
But the gospel music industry, I've always admired, and I've always was moved by a lot of the music, and I always wondered later I wondered, what are their deals like? What are their record deals like? What is their publishing situations like? I did wonder that, so I didn't know that about Take Six.
Yeah, but as I said, they signed to Nashville in Nashville, so so just it does show the difference between it not only and who have I remember listening to DJ Carl Kent when he got signed when he was working for Elektra Records with with Sylvia Rone, and he saw the contracts and he was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And she said, "Hey, it's not our job to teach them the business.
Yeah.
It's their job to learn and understand and know what they're signing." And he was, troubled by it, but he had to be the company guy. And it seems as if, there's that sense of, hey, you want the opportunity, you get yourself the advice.
Yeah, the best advice, the best thing that I've ever heard somebody say is, before I say this, let me just put it in some context. When we got our second deal, which was with Motown, um, the our lawyer was a man, Larry Rudolph. And Larry Rudolph, I mean, he went on to manage, like, let's say, Britney Spears and like all these different groups and stuff
Mm.
that went blew up and pop. But Larry Rudolph told us, he said, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but there was a part of a contract because it was more than one contract at the same time. It was a production contract,
Okay.
it was a contract, and it was a publishing contract. Okay. I won't get into the specifics, but I'll say with one of them, he said, I wouldn't sign this. This I wouldn't sign. And he said, I'm gonna say this without, man. He marked it up, you know? And then when they got it back, they said, what is all this markups? And you guys are gonna lose your opportunity. And then you feel pressure at a teenager.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? This is it. This is your only shot. So, and everybody's signing it. They're all doing it. It's that kind of thing. But the best advice I've ever been given was by a man named Tyrone Williams, someone who I really deeply admire. Tyrone Williams he ran Cold Chillin' Records. So this would
Mm.
be Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie, Roxanne
Mm.
Shante, and Big Daddy, So he said it is the label's lawyer is going to create a contract that leans heavily in favor of the label. You get a lawyer, and your lawyer wants to get it to lean in your direction. In the end, y'all are supposed to come to a middle ground or agree. In
Mm.
time, Ron Williams said, if you can't get to that point where you agree, leave it alone. And that is where the hard part is for a lot of the artists, especially in that time, because there was no hop on YouTube and become a star, hop on
Yeah, yeah,
Instagram, hop on TikTok. On average, the average person will never meet someone who got a record deal at that time. It was
yeah,
that rare of an occurrence to have a record deal and then come out and be on the
yeah.
radio, on television. That was rare. That was holy ground. That was rare.
Hmm.
So that's that's what happened to so many young people when it came to signing those contracts. We have to remember those contracts were signed. Everybody was young, very
Yeah,
young. You know,
yeah. And as you said, doesn't matter how much you know, there's always stuff that they'll get you on. And there's always ways that they'll they've been in it long time. And and actually the more you know, the less supported they become. I think Shanice, when I interviewed her, she mentioned because her mom knew about the business, the label started to say, we don't want to deal with this.
let me tell you something. I saw that happen with so many different people. Um, I, in fact, I put it to you this way. We were in a restaurant one time, myself, Brian, and Darren, and we just came off of Get It On Tonight. And we
Mm,
were in a restaurant with Terry Lewis, and Terry said, "This is when I really said, I we had just met him. This is when I said this could last for a long time, and I still work with Jimmy and Terry." Terry said, "You know what I like about y'all? Y'all know the business." And then we said, "Wow, that's interesting because most people don't want to work with us because we know the business." And he said, if somebody doesn't want to work with you because you know the business, then that means that they were not going to do right by you. That's what that means. He said,
mm,
but when I see that you guys know the business, it feels good because I say that's less things I have to explain to them.
mm.
You know? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, as I said, Jimmy and Terry, living legends as they are. But before we get to them, then you
Oh yeah,
guys
yeah.
get to um when you guys sign with well, Island, um, how does Albie Show come on board?
so so we had met Al earlier. Then there was a period of time where we were working with both. Well, how do I put this? We went on the road with Al, be sure. I was still in the eighth grade. We went on the road.
Was he promoting was it Sexy Versus?
Sexy Verses had already been out.
Okay.
So I don't know if he had anything current, but that was the last thing that he had had. So the most
Okay.
current thing that he was singing was like
Right
right now.
now, I love that
Yeah, yeah,
song.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant songwriter and
Yeah.
producer. Al learned so much from Al B. Shore. Shout out to Al. And I'm so proud of him, to see him make this comeback with his health.
Yeah.
Because no matter what we have planned in life, we can't do it unless we have our health. So to
Yeah.
see him back on stage singing, dancing,
Yeah.
and all that, I was like,
Yeah.
don't hurt yourself now, don't hurt yourself. Say you ain't 19 no more. But it's great to see him back. I went on the road. We went on the road with Al B. Shore singing. Bro, I was singing night and day. we was
Yeah.
we was singing If I'm Not Your Lover. What was the other song? Um,
Rescue Me.
Rescue Me.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, off,
Misunderstanding.
off on Your
Off on
Own.
Your Own Girl. Yeah, yeah.
We're doing those songs, man. And then Al would have, because I was like a novelty. He would say, "Yo, dude is 13. Come here, sing this right quick." and I would be singing. I would be singing, and that's literally how I made a name.
Wow.
A lot of these guys, Dave, people that was really cool with Al, that's how they got to know me. They got to know me through Al. Al B. Short.
Wow.
And Al B was the one who was talking, oh, you got JoJo, you got Casey, you got Dave, you got this one, you got that one. Little Tone. Little Tone. That's how my name kind of started ringing bells among like the elite vocalists that I admired through Al B. Short. All right. So
Ah.
around that time, man, we started working and writing with Bad Boy at that time. So Usher's album was Usher. That was the name of it. The name of the album was Usher. And it was his debut, and I
Oh
wrote on
yeah,
that.
because yeah, okay, okay. Um, oh I mean, oh yeah, is that was the one I had Devante do? Can you get
Hawk
with it?
and Can You Get With It? Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, and I know,
I'll Be Sure that album with Many Ways. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, so who are you? Who did you write with alongside then?
Track Masters, I'll Make It Right was the name of the song. And I sang on it. I did the reference work as well. And I Faith. Faith Evans. Faith,
Yeah,
because Faith was also another I'll Be Sure camp
yes, yes,
person.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so Faith was, we that was the bounce back and forth. It was the I'll Be Sure camp, the Bad Boy camp. And it was like you're writing over here and referencing over here. I'll Be Sure would pay me um to I would go from my school and I would go to this I would go from my school, go to the Hit Factory or something, and I would
Wow.
be singing songs before everybody. So like the songs that he was selling to like a lot of the artists, I was singing them first. I was being paid to do the reference work.
Oh, like for Tevin Campbell as well, and oh,
Not Tevin,
oh,
because
just
by the
like
time Tevin was a little before my time
okay.
with going out. All right. Um, but it was the later stuff. He did some of the 112 stuff. Even there was a song called This Is Your Day on their first album.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did
yeah,
that
yeah.
I did that song first, but there was four songs that only one made it on. That was that one, but there were four songs that 112 recorded with Al B. This Is Your Day was the one that got chosen. There was another one called
Oh,
Erase Days. Al then recorded that later on the New York Undercover soundtrack. I sang that one first. There was another one song, I Miss You in My Life, that me and Faith sang that 112 recorded. We referenced it. 112 recorded it. Then there was another song called Love the Lady. I'm in love with you, lady, now, but now that it's gone, it's too late. Those songs never saw the light of day. I still have them. I have me singing them, and I have 112 singing them. You know,
wow.
uh, Johnny Gill, the Let's Get the Mood Right album. The song was called "For You Alone." So that's what I was doing. I was working with Al. Al would have a song. He'd come through. I'd come through to the studio, and I'd sing the song he wrote. Before me, it was Dave Hollister, and before Dave Hollister, it was JoJo and Casey. And what I was doing it was Faith Evans as the woman,
Okay, wow. And was Kyle West there as well, or just Al?
1,000%. 1,000%. Yeah. Kyle wasn't always physically there, but all of the music was his though.
Yeah, yeah. Because Kyle, yeah, I love Kyle. He didn't like the crowd and the noise. He'd lay down the music and then I'll go do the lyrics.
You know what? I completely relate to Kyle West in that way. I completely relate to him. I get it. And then plus there was a lot of things going on just in the industry in general that
Mm.
Kyle wasn't a part of that. Kyle he wasn't gonna get down with that. And I have a kindred spirit with him in reference to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've had good. He's come on twice, and he's just in fact when he came on the second time, I'll be sure joined in because they hadn't spoken for
Put me in contact with Cal. Love
yeah.
Cal. Cal had a
Okay,
song.
yeah,
There's a track I'm trying to get my hands on. I used to just listen to it all day. It was a track that he had done, and it ultimately ended up on somebody's album. I don't remember who. It was a woman. ended up on a woman's album, but I used to just listen to the track by itself every day.
Well,
And I just love it. I want to get that track again. And I want to find out who was that he got that he sold it on because Kyle West is a genius.
yeah, yeah. Because he took his classical music, and then they said he sat under Teddy for just inspiration. But yeah, but yeah, you could even now he just reserved, didn't like the whole industry stuff. Um, but at this time when you were doing this reference stuff, were you also learning to write? When I'll give you put, or he just wanted you to do the reference vocals.
No, okay, so I had been writing songs since I was about 9 and
Okay.
performing them. All right. When we got into it and we got a deal over there at Polydor Island, um, those were songs that were written and co-written by me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Uh, so working with Al, oh, he would always allow me to chime in with ideas. If I had ideas, he would allow me to, chime in, on the idea and stuff, and this here and that there. Yeah. But he
So
was
they
the
went.
he was the mastermind though. He was the mastermind.
Okay. So then when you guys got the deal at Island, did they say, okay, who are you gonna get to produce, or did they how did
No, no, because our demo at the time, it had all songs that we had done, and they felt like the songs were hits. Shout out to Lil Otis Clyburn because they didn't have that. They got to get somebody established to do it and blah blah. They were like, no,
yeah.
these guys can write hits. And again, we were being asked to write for bad boy artists with so we were in the mix as writers too. Yeah.
So the label knew this, so they were like, okay, we'll let you guys create. But then why didn't that come out then?
No, that first album. So let's see. We were with Jimmy Manus, those same guys that I said we met, James Manus and JoJo Brim. Um, we were on their production company label. It was a boutique label, Manus Entertainment, which was signed to Polydor, ultimately Island. But that first album was called The Moment. It did come out. It was a few singles and um a couple of singles. And our first song, we had a video that was shot and directed by Antoine Fuqua before he became the
Yeah,
great
Training
Antoine
Day. Yeah,
Fuqua.
Training Day. Yeah, yeah. It just did. What's that? With Denzel Equalizer, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So he did our video, and he
Oh,
hadn't moved on to movies yet, you know, and I knew who he was. I knew that he was Harvey Fuqua's son. All right, because in Harvey being from the Moonglows, that doo-wop group in which Marvin Gaye was a part of, and then when Harvey Fuqua took helped to bring Marvin Gaye over to Motown, and he was with Marvin when Marvin won his Grammy in 1983 for Sexual Healing. I know Sexual Healing was 82, but when he won his Grammy for that,
yeah.
Harvey Fuqua, he mentions Harvey because Harvey never stopped working with Marvin Gaye, and so Antoine Fuqua, if you ever get a chance to interview him, you should ask him about Marvin Gaye because Marvin Gaye was like an uncle to him.
Wow.
Yeah, Antoine Fuqua. Yeah. So when he was there, he was like, "Yeah, you guys, I want you guys to do some harmony." Da, da, da. And I knew that he came from a background of his father being a doo-wop singer in a group that ultimately Marvin Gaye was in.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah.
So, but then,
Now the album never came out. The one on Motown, that one never came out. The first one did. The Moment.
so the one on Island came out that had
That
Party
one. That
Tonight.
one. No, no, no. So Party Tonight was on the one on Motown. So that first one, we never. Al B never. Okay. So when we got signed to Island, we weren't
Yeah.
with Al. So we had a relationship with Al. We had been on the road with him and everything. Somehow or another, we ended up getting a record deal outside of Al B's shore. I
Okay.
don't know how, but he wasn't a part of it. You know, um, We went on Motown. I'm sorry, we went on Island, Polydor Island, and we did that first album, and it was cool. Party Tonight came around 2 years later. On the next album, that was a single, but the album never came out for that.
So the album for Island Polydor, that one they gave you guys, you had your stuff, you released it, but it wasn't successful.
No, no, no. So here's the thing, and this is why I was so amazed by what you said about Take Six and being a part of that country thing. Because when we were at Polydor, we were at Island, they had no black music division. So what they had back in the day was they would have black music divisions.
Mm.
MC, this is the black music division. Capital, this is the black music division. And so there was no black music division. It was literally everybody that was coming out, that was doing black music. It was really under this guy, Leotis Clyburn, and a few other people, but it was like we didn't have the whole black music division that could bring it out. Now, when we left 2 years later, Drew Hill did sign to Island with Hiram Hicks. They did have a black music division by that time. So our
Okay.
album was something where it was out there, but the machine that we were a part of didn't know. They didn't have the relationships, the black music relationships
Yeah.
that needed in order to make it go at radio, in order to make it go. But shout out to BT. BT gave us some play. Radio gave us some play. But what we really needed in order to make it happen, we were like these, four teenage boys singing about love in really an environment where everybody wasn't listening and tuned into black music. They were tuned into something else in
Yeah.
their real lives, in their relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when Drew Hill came out, they'd only merged with that Def Jam, so they had they could piggyback off of that, and they had the soundtrack, the Rush Hour soundtrack.
Right.
So there
That's
was a
right.
whole big Universal
Yep.
machine, so that made a difference for them.
Oh man, that was great for them, man. That was great for them. Shout out to Drew Hill, my guy Nokio. Shout out to Stanley Brown, and
No, that's Stanley.
oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah, I love Stanley. Yeah, he's back in the church as well.
brilliant, man, brilliant. Stanley Brown is a minister of music at a church that's probably like 5 minutes from my house right now.
Okay,
The church, the,
okay,
the church,
yeah, Stanley. Yeah,
the church that he's minister of music at is around the corner from the church I'm a minister of music at.
okay, okay. I mean, he goes all the way back to whole Teddy and the Spider-Man and Freeze and
Yes, yes, absolutely.
yeah, okay. I forget that he did say that Dave Hollister initially recorded a track and it was banging, and then Harm saw the chance to sign these guys and had them sing it right away, and then it went out that night. It's the whole story about that.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no.
Yeah, and
No,
I
I heard
think
about
people,
that.
yeah,
I heard about that.
yeah, and I think people forget that he did "I'm Dreaming" as well for Christopher Williams.
Yes, he did, man. I think he was at a church called Pilgrim or some church in Brooklyn that he was at the time when he came up with that. I think I spoke to him briefly about that, but you can let him tell you, man. It was quite an amazing. I mean, yeah, Stanley's just dope, man. Stanley's just dope.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, definitely. Okay, so so when you guys came out with Ireland, were they just doing reggae? Because I know we know Ireland in the UK for their reggae stuff.
They had the reggae stuff, and by that time they had some rock stuff going on.
Mm,
A lot of
okay.
rock, had a lot of rock groups. So you see the guys walking around, and you'd be like, yeah, you're a heavy metal A&R. I could tell. I could. You like that hardcore rock stuff. You know what I mean? And yeah, that's pretty much what was going on.
Okay, so how disappointing was it when the album didn't really make it then? How did you guys how did it affect you?
Bro, I was so young. I don't think I really cared. I, I think I'm not gonna lie, because I gotta think back on it. And I knew everybody. So you know what it was? It was like there were two worlds that I was focused on. There was the world of the consumer, and there was the world of the artists and producers.
Mm,
The artists and producers loved me. So it was literally like going to parties. navigating through the parties and having all of these people who I considered my heroes say, "Oh my God, yeah, oh, I love you, man. You're so dope." Saying that to me. And I'm a kid. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So I would be on cloud nine, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't focus as much on the general public. I didn't start focusing on the general public until the Party Tonight era. I was a little bit older now. I was in high school and I was a little bit, and so I kind of understood things a little bit more. So I had a little bit more riding on that. But that first one, bruh, we did that joint in, we created the songs right in Queens in our houses and went to studios and did this. And next thing you know, we're signed and we're looking at BT. Oh, wow, that's us. And it was a big jump from being just in the hood to being on BET and then having certain people know who you are in the music industry. That was huge for me. I don't know
Yeah.
about them, but for me, I was like, this is amazing.
Did you get to meet Jodeci at the time?
Yes, I had met Jodeci. Listen, bro, he wouldn't remember this. Casey wouldn't remember this, but I was going to a Bad Boy session and I was going to the old Hit Factory. And I had never been to the new Hit Factory. Well, I had never been to the old Hit Factory. That's what it was. I had never been to the old Hit Factory, but it was still there. The old Hit Factory was still there. But then the new Hit Factory was like 2 blocks down or something like that, a block and a half, 2 blocks down.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk past the Hit Factory, the new Hit Factory. I look in the lobby because it was nothing but glass, and I see Devontae from Jodeci. He's just sitting there in a chair. And I said, yo, that is Devontae from Jodeci right now. And then I look and I see Dalvin. He's talking to the dude at the counter. And then I see a dude with a snorkel jacket on with a hood on. And he had fur around the hood and he's walking around. And he might have had a 40 in his hand, like beer, you know what I'm saying? And I said, that's JoJo. I didn't even have to see his face. I said, that's JoJo. So I walk up the block and I see a girl with a Bad Boy jacket on. It said Bad Boy Entertainment. And at the bottom it said the the last generation of bad MFers on the bottom of it. And so I had the same jacket. All right. So I saw, oh, this person will be able to tell me where the Hit Factory is because they have a Bad Boy jacket on. They would know. It's a guy and a girl walking. And I walk up and I said, excuse me. Do you know where the old Hit Factory is? The girl didn't speak. The guy had his hat on low and he said, yeah, man, go right down there, blah, they have a green awning. You can't miss it. And when he started talking, I said, oh, that's KC. That's Casey from, they were on the corner. And I said, that's Casey from, I knew based on, I said, all right, thank you. And I looked at the girl, it was Mary J. Blige. She had the Bad Boy jacket on, And I was like, wow. And I went into that studio. I said, bro, I just met KC. I just spoke to him, and we had the same camp. I'll be sure that was the same camp.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were able to run into each other. They were always complimentary of me because they was like, yeah, that's Lil Tone. That's the guy. He rock with Al and them. So ultimately, we did a song. Al had me reference a song called Beautiful. I went in there and I had, he said, yo, why don't you get Brian from the group, Ladae? Why don't you get him to come and sing this with you? And I said, yeah, B, come on. Let's reference this. Because it was like maybe like the 8th or 9th song I had referenced with Al. B, come on. B comes to the studio. We do this song called Beautiful. It was specifically written for the New York Undercover soundtrack, sung by JoJo and KC. And they were still in Jodeci, but they were going to do this duo thing for the very first time. They were going to, I'm sorry, why is that happening? Did you see that?
Yeah, the balloons, yeah.
Listen, bro, I have a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old, so I don't know what they do. Oh, that's perfect. You got to keep that in there. You got to keep that. You have to keep
it.
shout out to my kids, man. But listen, having children keeps you young, and I love that. So
Yeah.
that was perfect. That was the perfect. I'm talking about my child. So so ultimately, we do this song, and they come into the studio. JoJo and Casey come into the studio, and they were listening, to the reference, and it was like, all right, cool. So JoJo had to sing his part, Casey had to sing my part, and they did it. They did a video for it. Never came out, but it was on the New York Undercover soundtrack. But when that second album that Ladae did after Party Tonight, which never was released, we actually used that song Beautiful on our album.
Oh,
So people
oh,
would have saw it as a remake of their song, but we had actually done it. Then they did it,
okay.
and then we were doing it again. Kyle West, I'll be sure.
Wow. Wow. I mean, for you guys then, when you were doing your second album, why did you guys leave Ireland though? Because the album did they yeah.
Well, uh, we left Island because everyone said, y'all need to be somewhere where there's a black music division. Y'all need to be somewhere where you do the music. Because at Island in Polydor, the only person that was really getting what we were doing and what was Leotis Clyburn. He's the person who signed us. He got us. He understood us. He was pushing for us. He didn't have, he did not have the support needed
Mm,
to get these groups all that they needed outside of once his job was done and he turned over a great album.
mm,
Now it's time for the next crew of people. In the next crew of people, publicity, in these, in promotion, in radio, and it was time for them to do stuff.
mm.
And we needed that. And so everywhere we went, it was like, um, yeah, that this is gonna drive your viewers crazy. This is gonna drive your viewers crazy, but there's a part of the story that I'm gonna leave out. But what I'll say is this. Um, there was a deal, man. There was a deal on the table right before the island deal. There was another deal offered to us where we would have had that type of backing, but everything happens for a reason. I can't say, but everything happens for a reason. And I'm glad everything happened the way it happened. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
So
that's
you
that's
mean
what it
that
was.
so you mean that you guys had an opportunity to be at a more progressive label, but who made the decision to turn it
To
down?
not do it. James Maness. James Maness. I called Jimmy a few months ago, maybe a month ago, and I said, Jimmy, I said, I just want to let you know, man, you made the right decision. Because every now and then he would go back and say, I wish I would have took that deal, blah. And I say, nah, Jimmy, you made that absolute right decision because we're all where we are supposed to be today.
Mhm.
We're all where we're
Yeah,
supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe in, no regrets. I don't
yeah.
believe in so I think back on all these days fondly. You know what I'm saying?
But then, how can you just walk away from a label if you've signed over to them, unless they drop you?
You have to know, you have to ask for a release
But why would they want to let go of you if they
because we
if they
didn't
see that there's
because it was nothing really to hold on to. Like when you think about it, we had an album. The album didn't sell much. They didn't push it much. And it was kind of clear. This is a group. We don't get this group. We don't know how to this is in a whole category which we don't really have, any dexterity in and stuff like that. It just made sense. It made sense for everybody because if they're holding on to us, what are they holding on to us for? Are they holding on to us to do another project that they wouldn't know how to promote and then put it out there?
yeah.
And then yeah, so it just made sense. We got lawyers to ask for a release and we were granted the release. You can do that. It depends on the label. We didn't say we have another situation. Can you give us a release so we can jump right into like if we would have said that, then it would have been like, no, we did have another situation. It was Al B and them. That was the situation waiting. We never said that. We just, I think we may have even told them we were disbanding. I don't know what we told them, but it was just like, can we leave? And these guys ultimately we got the release because I remember the day we got the release, we were so happy. We went out and we celebrated, and because we got the release.
Oh. Now, at this time, then, has Andre taken over at Motown?
Ah, you are good, my friend. You are good, my friend. Listen, so check this out. Full circle moment. Remember when I said when we were years before that, we sent a demo
Yeah, from the
to
rehab.
Uptown Records and they never. We got signed originally through Albie Shaw's Absolute to Uptown Records. That's where we got signed. Uptown first. We were at a party. I will never forget this. We were at a party and uh someone said, yo, Andre Harrell's no longer going to be at Uptown. And we said, what? We're signed with Uptown. What's going to happen with us? And at that party, we found out Andre's taking you guys with him to Motown, Horace Brown, and
Mm,
Anthony Hamilton.
mm,
We were the three. And Anthony was at that party. I don't know if he got that information like we got it, but um, and I just want to say shout out to a woman by the name of Catherine Wilkes. I haven't seen Catherine Wilkes since I was a teenager,
mm.
but she gave me some advice. I was at the party and I was angry. Man, this is terrible. I dreamed all these years of being on Uptown Records. Finally, we're gonna be late mates with Jodeci. Like we're gonna be, this is it. And I was sitting there by myself, and Catherine Wills came over to me and said, "What's the matter?" And I said, I'm angry because everything just changed, and she said, "The reason why you're mad," she said, and she was so right. The reason why you're mad, she said, is because she said, you see all these people? And I said, yeah. She said, you think they're in control of your destiny. And she said, they're not. She said, you have your own destiny. They're not in control of your destiny. So whatever your destiny is, it is that. And she said, everybody is just a pawn. She said, and if they're going to help you get to your destiny, she said, they can't even do nothing about it. Don't worry about it. Do what you do. And I never forgot that to this very
Wow,
day. And when I
wow.
walk into meetings and all that stuff, I don't walk into a meeting and say, my life is in your hands.
Yeah,
Please don't
yeah, yeah,
think like it's
yeah,
not. My destiny is my destiny. What's going to happen is going to happen,
yeah,
whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not. So ultimately, just do what I do.
yeah.
So we ended up, so it was like y'all gonna be on Motown. And I grew up loving the Jackson Five, and I left that part out. But growing up, you asked me about growing up in Queens. I used to listen to the Jackson Five so much. They were before my time, but I had a high voice, and so did little Michael Jackson. I'm gonna tie this together. Um, and ultimately, uh, instead of toys for Christmas, I used to ask for Jackson Five albums. Can you just get
Wow.
me? So I know everything about the Jackson Five, every B side. I know the stuff that was on the other side of a single that never was on an album that you can
Wow.
hardly know that song. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Um, and so I grew up looking at that logo, Motown. So I started getting excited. I started getting excited about the fact that, okay, we're not going to be on Uptown. We're going to be on Motown. And it's like, okay, all right, okay, all right, cool, cool, cool. So, it's like if somebody said you're either going to be on Cash Money, but says, oh, we're going to be on Cash Money. Oh, we're going to be like Drake. We're going to be like Nicki Minaj. But then they say, no, you're going to be on Def Jam. And it's like, yeah, but it's not Cash Money. But then you start thinking about the legacy
Yeah.
of, and then you say, okay, I can get with this. I can get with this. And that's how we felt about Motown. Well, that's how I felt about Motown.
But I do wonder then because if you had stayed at Uptown, would they have signed So For Real?
So for real was already there.
Ah, okay. And
So
Monifa.
for real was, they were already there. Soul for Real was
Okay.
already there. We were gonna be label mates with Soul for Real. So I guess it
Yeah.
was gonna be like the Temptations and the Four Tops. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. Because Heavy had it down with the Soul for Real with him when the money for he had the Lost Boys when he took over. So they still uh, um I spent about 5 hours talking to Jimmy Love Jenkins.
Jimmy Jenkins. Oh, you spent. Oh man,
Yeah.
they love Jimmy Jenkins. Jimmy Jenkins. Shout out to him, man. Listen, can I just take some time out and just say something about Jimmy Jenkins?
Go ahead,
Something I'm
yeah.
not gonna say. It's something that a lot of people not gonna say. Bruh, there was a whole corner of the industry that talked just like him. Literally. They watched him. They watched his mannerisms. They watched his slang terms that he would create. People became him. Jimmy Jenkins literally was a guy that had all these executives walking, talking, dressing, trying to think like him. I went every other label we was going to, they had a Jimmy Jenkins and they were trying to
Wow.
be like,
He
they were
doesn't
trying
get the
to talk
credit.
like him. They were literally trying to talk like him, be like him. Jimmy Jenkins, you've seen Jimmy
Yeah, yeah.
Jenkins swag. Jimmy Jenkins swag, you've seen his swag on other people. That's what I'm
Wow.
saying. There's other people that you've seen his swag on them. They're stars. You've seen his swag on those people. Okay. So shout out to Jimmy Jenkins, man.
Yeah, no, Jimmy, he went through the whole Uptown history and the stuff, and the whole Uptown to Motown. Because we as music fans, when Andre went to Motown, um, from the outside, I think the whole Puffy and Bad Boy thing is like, okay, I'm gonna do to Motown what Puffy did to Bad Boy, and did the whole promo. Spent a lot of money. Took G Wiz. I interviewed G Wiz from Heavy D and the Boys. Took
Yeah.
Big Bub. Took
Yeah.
Eddie F. And
Yeah.
but
Yep.
yeah, yeah. But then it was a big balance because Kenny and the Whitehead brothers suffered as a result of all the stuff. So there was a lot of unsettledness. But how did you
Yes.
find the
Oh
transition?
man. That time at Motown, bruh, bruh. All right. So I'm gonna tell you, man, I became really close friends with Jason Weaver.
Okay,
And really tight with to this day. Jason, that's my man to this day. Uh, because Jason and I were around the same age.
and Michael fans as well.
Yeah. Terrell Hicks. Uh, Terrell
Distant
Hicks was
Lover. I love that song. That's my Distant Lover. That's my jam. The Teddy remix with Sprague, Dougie.
oh my
Yeah.
God. Listen, Terrell is amazing to this very day. Shout out to Terrell. I still speak to Terrell. You know, our our mothers, have a similar thing that they're dealing with right now, as they get older. So we, talk about that from time to time. Shout out to her mom and dad, and Veronica, her sister, and Deatra, her legendary singer, a singer sister, Deatra Hicks, you know, and I became very close to a group called Shades. I became very close to 702. We toured together. We
Oh,
did stuff.
yeah. Biff 10. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mila.
Biff 10, yeah. Biff
Yeah,
10 had that
yeah, yeah. Mila. Yeah.
1,000%, 1,000%. And they were like some sisters, man. And we were just a bunch of kids, that's what it was, man. We were just really a bunch of kids. And so I didn't understand what was happening at Motown until years later. I didn't understand it. It was Albie was there. We were signed to Motown through him, Absolute. And listen, we had a song called Five Words. That was supposed to be our single, a song called Five Words. And man, it was a ballad. We were looking at, we was like, yo, that's gonna be our Forever My Lady. And sidebar, my boys were in Atlanta recently, and Nokia from Drew Hill came pulling up in his car, literally playing that song. He didn't even know he was gonna run into them. He literally pulled up playing that song and said, bruh, Listen, look what I'm listening to. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So it was a thing, you know. Ultimately, we were rehearsing for the video because they were gonna do some choreography and stuff. So one day, Andre Harrell came to our rehearsal and he said, "Yo, throw that party tonight on." They threw it on. He said, "Yo, this is gonna be the single." We were out last night and we were playing it and we felt it was like we were excited. So that's gonna be you guys' single. So we it took a moment to sink in as to what this is. We were really kind of getting attached to this thing, man. And all right, so it's gonna be party tonight, which was a full circle moment for me because it was a sample of the Jacksons. Let me show you the
Mm,
way to go.
mm.
And that was Jacksons who they came up on Motown, and then I grew up on the Jackson 5. Like I grew up listening to Michael. So we had to get that cleared by the Jacksons. The Jacksons had to sign off on it. Michael had to sign off on it last.
Wow.
And he signed off on it and sent a note with it. You know what I'm saying? That he loved it, that he loved the song and all this stuff. So that was huge. That was like huge, bro. Like that was bigger than like a hit record for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So ultimately, yeah, man, it was a lot of I want to say infighting, but I can't really say it that because I wasn't at the meetings. People who were at those meetings could tell you better than I could because we're the artists and
Yeah.
we're away from the trenches and all, that stuff going on. So we're just knowing that, okay, your single's been pushed back. Okay, we had this for the budget, but now it's going to be that. But we're just hearing the end result of
Mm.
it, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, it was tough. And then they were going head to head with like Bad Boy. And there was a whole nother set of politics that was happening with that. They were fighting, from what I understand, over like the soul of New York radio. Who's gonna, you know what I'm saying, and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, I mean, as I said, from the artist point of view, spoken to some of the artists like, Kenny when he's come on show, but from the behind the scenes, I've had G Wiz from Heavy when he was one of the executives there. Jimmy, he said Andrew went crazy when he went to Motown, you know, but they,
he
and
said it. He said it, not me. He said
yeah,
it, not me.
yeah, he did. Yeah, he said, yeah, yeah, man, Andre went crazy when he just went to Motown. And G Wiz was saying, yeah, man, we spent too much on a lot of stuff, but then you had some of the legacy artists who were there prior to Andre coming in, and it's like, well, we didn't sign you, so we're going to prioritize the guys we signed, and it was trying to get the right type of balance, and ultimately, um you it was you can't Mo Uptown was something he built from bottom up. You can't go into Uptown Motown and then try and you have to take your time, and he rushed it and stuff. But I knew Puffy was, he was it was a sense of, man, I need to compete with this guy. How's it,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And let me just tell you, man, a small label like a Uptown, a boutique label, or however you want to characterize it, is very different than a
yeah,
Motown. People like Jason Weaver was there, before Andre got there with Love Ambition and all that stuff. Um, I spoke to Terrell. I believe Terrell told me she got signed to Motown before Andre Harrell in that Uptown crew came.
yeah,
The Whitehead brothers,
yeah.
you know, and then there were people like
Johnny
uh
Gill.
Johnny Gill was there. Um Boys to Men.
Yeah, yeah,
But here's another thing. Stevie Wonder was there.
yeah.
Stevie Wonder was on the label. That's because I'm a history person, to be able to say that I spent some time as a label mate of Stevie Wonder is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, did you know Profile? Were they there when you were there?
Profile?
Yeah.
No. Nope.
Oh, they came with the neo soul guy. What's his name?
You,
Oh, I
you're
can't
talking
remember.
about Kadar Massenberg. They
Kandar,
came,
yeah.
but
They
I'm gonna
came
tell
with
you
Kadar.
who was there. I'm gonna tell you who was there. 98 degrees.
Oh, okay. So that's what the Boyz II Men said they took all their budget to put into 98 Degrees because they were trying to be the white version of the Motown version of
I keep it, yo.
Black
Wait,
Backstreet Boys.
who said that from Boyz II Men? Who said that?
That was Sean.
All right, so you know what? Being that he let the cat out the bag, I'm a,
He's
he's right. He's 1,000% right because it happened to us too. It happened to everybody. But let me tell you what's funny. When we met 98 Degrees, they weren't out yet. Oh my gosh. Uh, they was talking to us about us, talking to us about Jodeci, talking to us about Boyz II Men, talking to us about intro,
so
talking to
they
they
knew the stuff.
they love these groups. And they would just like, they just wanted to talk about that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it was dope. I mean, but at the same time, again, you had this situation where it's like you hearing, wait, what are they getting? What are they getting to do that? It's like, wait, how did they get that? How did that happen? How was that possible? And then you're like, oh, it's coming up, from way higher, and then it was a lot, bro. So
Yeah.
Sean is telling the honest to God truth.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that kind of
Age of somewhere in between.
Us for even loving us. On which I did an issue with.
It came out with Heat of the Moment.
BF got in the business, I'll be sure. But what was it like growing up?
Business, and she's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple of pieces.
Trying to get this one and that one.
Well, that works for you, but just for me,
No, okay.
They don't understand what Jodeci Boyz II Men and all
Experience for you, and you can actually
and play it.
These guys,
I mean, I love all different genres.